right. Welcome, everyone. This is our Propelling Business Excellence podcast, and I'm your host, Vibha Chawla. Today, I'm very excited to have Robert Jordan, who seems to have quite a lot of variety of hobbies and variety of experience. And he's the CEO of InterimExecs. If you can kick us off with your introduction, what you do, and what your business is like.
Thanks, Vibha. It's a pleasure to be with you. As you said, run an organization called InterimExecs. It's a matchmaker. We were one of the first in the U.S. Matchmaker between organizations that have some kind of C-suite need.
Yeah.
CEO, CFO. We started 17 years ago, and in the U.S., people would be like, "What is that you do?" And now, of course, you could say fractional or interim leadership roles, CEOs, CFOs, and all of that. And I think lots of people in business are familiar with what that is.
Right. Yeah, things have changed quite a lot now. So what inspired you to start your business, or what was your initial spark?
Oh gosh, how much time do we have here? I mean, I
About
know
20 minutes for all 6 questions.
well, I know you coach entrepreneurs and owners. So essentially my entire business career has been highly entrepreneurial. I dropped out of business school to start my first company. And that was the first, that was the first magazine in the world that covered online services and internet. Did that for a bunch of years, sold it to a big publisher. Wasn't sure what I was going to do with the rest of my life. There's that saying, and fortuitously, miraculously, wonderfully, whatever, I was at a conference. The online world was a very small community pre-World Wide Web.
Okay.
And a guy came up to me with a new business card. And I knew him vaguely, and he said that the venture people would not give a rookie entrepreneur a check for $5 million on his own. He had a team that would parachute in with the money. And then he handed me the card. And the card said CEO of Yahoo. And this impressed me greatly. And he called himself an interim CEO. And that kind of blew my head open. And I said, "You're now my mentor." And this was the mid-90s. I came home from that meeting. I bought 2 domains, interimceo.com and interimcfo.com. And I started doing gigs. And so that's how I started. When social networks came around 17, 18 years ago, MySpace, LinkedIn, Facebook, we formed what became InterimExecs. If you go to the website, interimexecs.com, that is it. But so I've been in a lot of different startups. I look very stable now because I don't do gigs anymore. And, just being a, rainmaker around the world is fun for me. We've had about 9,000 executives show up from 63 countries. So we developed ranking and scoring and screening about a decade ago. And being a great matchmaker is what we do.
Okay. So you help companies find their CEOs, CFOs.
If it's a project basis, yeah. It's we're not headhunters. We don't do permanent search.
Okay. They're meant to be interim.
Yeah. So there's now a lot of use cases for project-based people, even in the C-suite, right?
Yeah.
Everything got outsourced 30 years ago.
Right.
Well, it hit the C-suite.
Right.
Oh,
this is very interesting.
Some people kind of roll their eyes and like, look, I didn't invent it. I was one of the first here in the U.S. Didn't invent it, and it's the way the world is, and it's a good thing. You look at fractional roles like a fractional CFO. Now any company can afford great senior, financial leadership. It's like having a lawyer. You pay your lawyer on an hourly basis. Your lawyer isn't on your payroll, right?
Right.
Well, it's the same now for, you need a CFO's advice for 3 hours a month, done. CIO, you're trying to get better on technology. CTO, you need them 4 or 5 hours a month, done. Yeah, so that's a beautiful thing.
Right. Yeah, I had not heard about, well, I had heard about, I met a lot of interim CFOs, but not necessarily the CEO. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I was, like I said, I was very excited to see your LinkedIn profile. I'm like, whoa, this sounds very interesting to me. All right, so what are some misconceptions about running a business?
Where should we start? I mean, if you start from the premise,
There's a
let's
lot to
start from
cover.
a premise, and I'll be as tough on myself as what the statement is. All failures in business are management failures. Sorry, but it is. It's just,
Yeah,
how is it? How is it when we hit a recession or a black swan event? Something out of the blue, right?
right.
COVID hits, Great Recession hits, something like that. How is it that some businesses thrive and other businesses, they just tank, they go under, right?
Yeah,
How is that? It's not a
yeah, that makes sense.
universal thing where an outside circumstance happens in every single company, the same thing occurs. No, that's not what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So the good news, I know that you coach and work with a lot of owners of companies,
Mm-hmm.
um, as am I. I mean, the good news is that we have agency. We're in charge of what we do. And that's great, right? Well, the sobering news in there is it's on you, or you and your team, let's say,
Right.
and it shouldn't be a solo effort. I don't even think with small businesses anymore it needs to be a solo effort. No matter what it is you do, you can take advantage of outside resources, everything, right across technology and people
Mm-hmm.
and there was a great book years ago, The 4 Hour Work Week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Ferriss became very famous off of it. It's kind of eye-opening for a lot of people, which is, here was a guy, I think he sold vitamins or something,
Yeah.
whatever it was, but he was in a way a one-man shop, except he was surrounded by 150 suppliers, people, resources, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's open to everybody, that kind of
Yeah.
wide open thinking.
Right. Right. I totally agree with that. So managing failures, that's pretty
Say V, but you want a short answer because I gave you a long one. The short answer,
yeah.
misconceptions, is that if you think there's an external circumstance which is weighing you down or causing it, yeah, not so much, not so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you need to be able to manage that.
Well, see, you have power, you
Right.
do, and even in circumstances where you don't think you do. Even to the point if you don't have an option, well, you could still choose that.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's very insightful. So you have a lot, it seems like you have quite a lot of stuff going on. And I saw that you have written a book as well. Is that right, Robert?
I'm at 3 books. The
Oh my
first
God.
one, I'm not the named author. Famous book on negotiation called Start with No. My partner, Jim Camp, um, we published that book. That was a number of years ago, but I got to narrate the Audible version a couple of years ago, and that was wonderful because Jim Camp was a dear friend and partner, and he passed away. But
Mm,
that book, still sells. It's in 20 languages, and that was the first. And then we did a book about champion company founders called How They Did It. That came out about over a decade ago. And then we had a book come out a year ago called Right Leader, Right Time, about leadership style.
yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really interesting title, Right Leader at the Right Time.
Well, we had, when you've had 9,000 executives show up on your doorstep, you would hope to learn a thing or two
Yeah,
over
absolutely.
all those years. And we spotted this thing we started calling leadership style. We saw these different styles among successful leaders that, it was never one size fits all, but we saw these 4 major distinctions we called fixer, artist, builder, strategist.
Hmm.
And this model we labeled FABS, F-A-B-S, fixer, artist, builder, strategist.
Hmm.
And we thought we really got to get the word out about this because especially for people younger and earlier in their careers, there's a message here that can be powerful based on what we've seen from highly successful leaders, which is they're never all things to all people, never.
Right.
And earlier in career, and when people are not firing on all cylinders, say, it can feel like you have to cover more, you have to be more, you have to do more.
Right.
That's not actually the way that highly successful leaders do it. So we felt we had a right to write about that.
Yeah. And what were the 4 things you said? Fixer what?
Fixer, artist, builder, and strategist.
I see.
I could describe the 4 if you want.
Yeah, sure. I mean, briefly, yeah, sure.
People's like, are we going to be at this all day? She's thinking to herself, thank God I have editors. Thank God I have editors who will cut this guy down. They're going to cut him off.
No, I'm not thinking that way. I'm enjoying this conversation. This is
no, it's
amazing.
Okay. Look, we get found through search. We don't have salespeople in our business. So we write a lot, we interview a lot because, we're in a Google-driven world, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So fixer is the energy that needs to run into the burning building. When you have a leader and they are driven to crisis, that's just where they thrive. That's fixer energy. The difference between dominant fixer energy versus other leadership styles is, well, to give you an example, I own a company. So do I feel like I'm solving problems? Yeah, every day. But I don't get my energy off of it. I don't. And so that's the difference, which is dominant style fixer. We'll give you an example. FTX went into bankruptcy, the biggest crypto platform, right? They went into bankruptcy a year ago. And the court appointed an interim CEO. That person who they appointed, where was he before FTX? Well, among other things, he was at Enron. Biggest blow-ups, in the early 2000s. So it's like, oh, that's the energy that you can move from crisis to crisis and thrive.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's
Different
fixer.
People get energy from different. Okay. Yeah.
Artist energy, this drive from innovation. The standout example today in the world is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs was an artist-driven leader. Thomas Edison, this ability, this thing you can't turn off, which is to keep on thinking up, dreaming up. And artist energy is a very, what we'd call parallel. It's not surprising that Elon can't just do Tesla. He has the SpaceX, and he used to have the Boring Company, and he had to go buy Twitter. And that energy needs dissipation. Builder. I know everybody in business loves to be the builder. We get that. We mean a specific definition, which is the ability to take people, process, product from low to high. From 3 people on a team or a division in a company to 100 to 500 to an IPO, whatever it is. Builder energy, what you tend to see with those folks is once they've achieved market domination, person's going to rotate off the project, the builder, because they need that ability to grow into scale.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The final style strategist, this is your leader at scale. Fred Smith, he retired as chairman of FedEx a couple years ago. He's one of the standout strategists of the age.
I see.
How do you run an organization with 250,000 people where you're never going to know virtually all of them personally? How do you thrive? How do you cause an organization to thrive under those circumstances of being distant?
Right.
Because a lot of fixer and artist builder leaders, they tend to be 5-person team, 10-person, 20, 50. They tend to max out at 100, 150, where personal relationships are now no longer in play. So those 4 styles, fixer, artist, builder, strategist, Fab's leadership model is something we wrote about, this book called Right Leader, Right Time. Also, to welcome your listeners, we developed a free, it's about 4 minutes, a free leadership assessment tool. It's called Fab's Leadership Assessment.
Okay.
And so we'd welcome people taking it, and you can get a result, immediately. And we love hearing from people. Did we get it right? Did we get it wrong?
Yeah.
And that's it. That's at a website called rightleader.com.
Oh, okay. Rightleader.com.
Yeah, and there's an assessment tab there, and folks can take it.
Life balance. Do you have
That's a
work-life
great
balance?
question. Huh?
Do you have work-life balance?
Do I have it? Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
I have been a fan of meditation. I've been doing TM for 30 plus years.
Oh, wow.
I don't think someone wired, I'm pure artist energy, which is to say I need 5 projects going on at the same time. But it also, at some points, you don't want to hit the point of overwhelm, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I've run my own company. I mean, I have a wonderful business partner, but when you do that, you got to meet payroll and blah, blah, blah. And, with all these thousands of executives who show up, and then there's clients, so that's a lot. Or for me, that's what's my world. If I didn't have meditation, we wouldn't be on this call right now.
Yeah.
You have to find
Glad
your
you're
center.
doing it.
Yeah, you got to find your center. So I'm fans of whatever. TM is its own particular thing, but basically anybody listening to this, here's the gift you're going to get from Vibha and I today, which is, after you finish listening, pause and just notice your breathing. Take a breath and just notice your breath. There you go. That's meditation in a nutshell.
We are not only doing podcasts, but also meditation, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's amazing. So, Robert, how many people do you have in your team? Is there anybody to help you here, or?
Yeah, so there's the team at InterimExecs, headquarters, if you will, is 6 of us. We are surrounded. We've been approached. I said it was about 9,000 executives.
Right.
We developed a concept called Red Team about 10 years ago. Red stands for Rapid Executive Deployment. So Red Team, at any point in time around the world, is around 500 people. And then there's a group around that called Red Team Ready, and that's another 1,000 people roughly. So when we get a phone call, our ability to deploy in the moment, within minutes, minutes to hours to days, is right there because of that resource.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you have built it very innovatively to that sense, right?
Yeah, it's a very human thing. And I don't know if we want to touch on this, but AI is, in the best sense, AI is coming for us.
Yeah.
Or we're coming for AI, because we now have so much data on executives that is beyond any human team to handle.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because you keep learning more and more from executives in terms of what they love to do and all of that, and all of those data points down to word choice matters. And so
tell us more. Tell us more. What are you thinking in terms of, like, how is AI going to help your interim exec as you're matching interim CEOs?
Well, let's Vibha, when before we started recording, I was asking you about your career. Okay. The way you describe your career, you're the only person on earth who describes her career in exactly that way. Now, part of it is it's your career, no one else's career. So there's a hard set of data on you that is unique to you.
Yeah.
But then the language down to your word choice, every individual word is something that is unique to you. And for another person, they can have a similar background. They can have a similar career calling, but they will not use the exact same words as you to describe themselves. And that's going to be indicative of how they are in the world, how they operate, and how they lead. Well, AI helps with that, because, the concept of a large language model, LLMs, these things, ChatGPT, is that it's based on language.
Mm-hmm.
And so it means that the way we perceive ourselves, describe ourselves in the world is important, is significant. And we take note of all of that.
Okay.
And so AI has already started helping us with that.
Okay. So is it helping you tremendously in terms of matching with the companies, right people?
We have not deployed it yet in the field,
Okay.
as it were. We're not there yet.
I see.
But we realized at some point years ago, which is to train our staff, we were training them on language.
Mm-hmm.
The language used by executives, the language used by clients.
Right.
Down to the verb. You know, and so with that, we thought when the ChatGPT, of course, you know, changed everything for everybody.
Yeah.
We started thinking, well, this is certainly true of us, because we already were paying attention to language that was being used on every call.
Right.
And thinking about it that way. And so we're in early innings. Mm-hmm. We're in early innings. In a year, you and I talking, I'm going to have a different or more complete answer, because at the moment we're just taking baby steps.
Okay. Yeah, that would be quite interesting. Yeah, eye-opener in terms of how you may be using in future. So having said that, I guess, what are your future plans of the company? You mentioned about AI. What else is your future plan for next 1 year or 3 to 5 years?
Well, AI would be number one. I think, you know, continually, look, we want to keep on being the best at what we do. We have an internal mantra that most companies would run away from. The mantra is perfect or not at all. So while we act like a fire department and we can respond to a client inquiry within minutes, you know, in terms of a great executive resource, you know, we're a privately owned business, and we're not going to do this work if we don't think that it is that the possibility of the organization, the executive or the team coming in, if it doesn't look outstanding, we're not doing it. It's a very human business. It's not like, you know, you sell a car and whatever, you think the buyer's a schmuck, who cares? It's his car. See you later, right? That's not what we're in. That's not what we're in, because if we screw it up with the executive, boy, if we blow trust with that executive, we've done something wrong. And so as the agent for all these remarkable executives, we take that as a very sacred kind of responsibility.
Yeah, that's amazing. Perfect or not at all.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't, you know, people hear that and they're like, what? And it's like, you know, there's a word perfect. Like I used to be in magazine publishing, and when a printing press hits both sides of the page at the same time, it's called perfecting. Okay. If it prints both sides, it's perfected. And there's a sense of the word perfect the way it used to exist, which was to perfect something. It meant to improve it. It didn't mean that it arrived at a place that was never, ever going to, you know, so pristine that there was nothing that could be improved. So there's more a sense of this to perfect what we do, which is to keep improving on it.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, very insightful. So even though you're saying perfect or not at all, but we are still in the process of improving.
Yeah.
So, great. Yeah. So what advice would you give to the aspiring leaders or entrepreneurs who are having some business challenges?
Call Vibha.
Right. Call me.
Your editors aren't editing that out, are they?
I'm doing business and executive coaching. Yes. What other advice would you give? Podcast about you.
You know, it's I think it's easy. The challenge in an age of social media is that everybody looks like they're doing better and just having an amazing time and all of it. It's an amount of pressure that can be unbearable. And so, you know, I think we all need to go easy on ourselves. to understand, especially you own a business, you're going to be making a lot of decisions. It's the nature of the game. If you can't make decisions, you can't own a business, right? So the big thing with that is to know the difference between the very few decisions you make that you're betting the whole company and the 99% of decisions you make that you may decide right, you may decide wrong, but you're not going to bet the whole company on that one decision. And so those are the ones to fret less about, to understand. You may get it 50-50 or whatever, but just understand you make a decision. If it's wrong, you're going to make another decision. But the distinction is key, right? The decisions you make where it could be that it puts the entire company on the line, be very deliberate with those decisions. The people around you who you trust to help advise you, yeah, you do everything you can on those few decisions to get it right. The same thing, look, in our lives, the decision to get married and who you're going to marry, that's a very considered decision.
Yes.
It should be. Most people, I have one friend from way back where he was in San Francisco and he met a woman and he proposed to her after 45 minutes. He really did that. And they got married. And it was great for a while. And then it wasn't so great. And eventually there was a divorce. But his spirit of romance, that's a kind of decision which is be very deliberate about that, right?
Yeah.
Well, in business, luckily, 99% of the decisions are not like that. And, for all of us who are in normal or, the normal and ordinary course of business, it's not like working in an ER. No one's going to die on your shift today. Okay.
Right.
Hopefully.
Depending on what type of business you are in.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Very insightful. Is there any other last word, Robert, from your side? Any other?
Oh, Vibha, I've said so much. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
No, pleasure is all mine. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think your profile is awesome, and I was expecting to have great time just by looking at your LinkedIn profile, and I did. And thank you so much. I learned quite a lot here.
Thank you, Vibha. We've set a very high standard for your future guests. Right?
Yes, I did.
Huh? Okay. It's been a great conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And to our viewers, our audience, look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And thank you very much, Robert, again, for this great conversation. We learned quite a lot from you. Thank you so much.